I'm an accountability guy. You're well aware of my personality. And I like being able to show quantifiable success or improvement. And so one of the ways that we do that is by counting high fives. And I'll even, from a championship culture, I'll say it takes more positive interactions, but it's kind of hard to see all the positive interactions. So I'm just gonna boil it down to high fives. I know a couple of the girls like, well, we clank sticks together, and that ain't a high five to me. That's still, you're 0 for 1, or 0 for 0 for that matter. I mean, I think you know the story about Steve Nash, correct? About basketball and the stats on that. Would you mind sharing a little bit about that? Why it's important? And I know I'm kind of giving you a question when I know the answer, but I don't know if everybody knows that. And the research does not say anything about X's and O's and drills. It actually says something specific about how we interact with one another. And if we can focus or put at least a part of the practice and focus on that, the research says you're going to be more successful. So I'll let you go with that. Go.
Well, to put into context, if I had to pick a player that I don't have a personal relationship with, because obviously I'm heavily biased towards those guys, but outside of the guys that I actually had a chance to work closely with, Steve Nash is without question my favorite basketball player of all time. And for any of you that are on this call that are a little bit younger and may only know him as the Brooklyn Nets head coach, he was a Hall of Fame caliber point guard in his own right. And back in the early 2000s, he won back-to-back MVP titles, which if you look up in the history books, puts him in very, very rare company in the NBA. And the first year that he won the MVP, he actually only led the NBA in 2 statistical categories. He led the NBA in assists, which regardless of sport, that means you're unselfish. You like to share the sugar, get your teammates involved. Certainly the trait of a good teammate and a good leader. But Steve Nash, that year he won the MVP, also led the NBA in physical touches. And I'm actually talking about high fives and fist bumps and pats on the backside. And if you're wondering how I could possibly know that Steve Nash led the NBA in physical touches, there was a research team from UC Berkeley who was conducting an official study because they wanted to measure if showing signs of physical enthusiasm, like high fives and fist bumps and pats on the backside, actually led to more wins on the court. So they hired a vast team of researchers to watch every minute of every NBA game and make a tally mark every time a player gave a high five, a fist bump, or a pat on the backside. Well, the Phoenix Suns, who Steve Nash played for at the time, were so enamored with this study that they hired a full-time intern to count just for Steve Nash. And in the very first NBA regular season regulation game, Steve Nash delivered 239 high fives, fist bumps, and pats on the backside. I mean, he was an absolute furnace of human connection, and his energy and his enthusiasm was contagious. And he's always been known for kind of raising the level of those around him, which I personally believe, if I had to pick a singular trait that is the most coveted and most valuable across all industries and all sports, I would say it is the ability to make other people better and the ability to get the most out of other people. Certainly that's could also be called leadership, which it is. But when your mere presence walking into a room, whether you're walking into a weight room, a film room, a locker room, or a boardroom, if your mere presence gets everybody to perform just a little bit higher and work just a little bit harder, that is like liquid gold. I mean, I can't think of a more impressive trait someone could have. So Steve Nash's ability to be that contagious, and let's also, to make sure for those of you that are younger that are watching this, I'm not talking about a journeyman role player. I mean, I'm talking about a back-to-back MVP, one of the 50 greatest players to ever play the game, a guy that shot 50% from 2, 40% from 3, and 90% from the line, which only a handful of people have ever done. A guy that was doing Steph Curry type things before Steph Curry was even Steph Curry. Not only was he one of the most talented players to ever play in the game, he was also one of the best teammates and one of the most infectious leaders with his enthusiasm. And the best part about that, and really the major takeaway for anyone listening, you may not have control over your genetic predispositions of athleticism, and you may not have control over whether or not you'll ever be as talented as a Steve Nash. I certainly tell you, I never was, but every single one of us has the ability to be that infectious of a leader. Every one of us has the ability to deliver 239 high fives, fist bumps, and pats on the backside if we so choose. And that would be my point to you all watching this right now, is make that choice to be the type of leader that is trying to lift other people up and spread infectious energy with everybody on your team.